I'm going to say a lot of things that I've been feeling about the national team that I think will rub people the wrong way. I think a lot of people won't agree with. One of the most emotionally invested kids I've ever seen in the game. At the end of the game, he broke down, just absolute tears, cuddled up on my chest on the couch, buried his head in my shoulder, just bawling. Here's one of the issues that I have with this national team. Yesterday, the face of U.S. soccer looked like he didn't care at all. It was done. That's what he said in his post-game interview. I get to go rest now. What's up, everybody? Yeah, no intro tonight, no intro today, because it's just me on this one. So a lot of things that I want to talk about. I think there's obvious things, right? And so I'm recording this Tuesday night. One of the reasons I wanted to do that was because I didn't want to record the episode for this week until after the game on Monday, which definitely going to talk about. And yeah, today's been kind of a crap day. Just yesterday was tough. Last night was tough, obviously. I wanted Spain to win the Spain-Portugal game, so that was great. And then, yeah, last night happened, and that really just kind of put our whole house in a bad mood for last night, some of today, which is a bummer because Tuesday's my temple day. So early mornings, I get up, I go to the temple Tuesday mornings, like super early. Like I'm one of the first 2 or 3 groups that's at the temple on Tuesdays, which is amazing and it's wonderful. And I love that we live in Utah now and I can do that. But yeah, the rest of the day just had this sour note on it. And, oh man, I don't really know where to start. I know where I want to start, what I've been thinking about. So yeah, we'll go there. So I'm gonna say a date that some of you might know. Any of you that are big national team people or hopefully soccer people in general, October 10th, 2017. October 10th, 2017. Famous words were said that night. And I have opinions about U.S. soccer pundits, and I go back and forth with all of them. I think October 10th, 2017 was one of the moments when Taylor Twellman, which a lot of people have issues with, and I think that was one of his most agreeable nights all around across the board. That was his "What are we doing?" night. I'm going to say a lot of things that I've been feeling about the national team that I think will rub people the wrong way. I think a lot of people won't agree with, but again, this podcast is for me to express my thoughts and my opinions and my feelings, and hopefully someone either agrees or disagrees, and we can talk about that and communicate. And that's the whole point, right? Is to communicate and get that information out and see what people think. So let's start with October 10th, 2017. What are we doing? At least a few of the guys on the World Cup team were there. And I don't feel like we have really made the progress that we should have in the last 9 years. It's been 9 years since that night. I want to jump forward from that date to yesterday, to the game. And particularly to after the game. Anyone who knows me and my love of football and my passion for the game and how important it is to me and my family, my son in particular. Anue is one of the most emotionally invested kids I've ever seen in the game. He loves Arsenal, which is great. He loves the US. And it's not just the soccer team. It's not just the US men's national team. Any US sport, he is gung ho that the US is going to win. So yesterday, at the end of the game, he broke down. Just absolute tears, cuddled up on my chest on the couch, buried his head in my shoulder, just bawling. And here's one of the issues that I have with this national team. My 6-year-old son, who doesn't play for the national team, didn't play in that game, was practically inconsolable for the first 15 minutes post game of that loss. And he understood what it meant, and that's why. He knew going into the game that if they lost, they were done. So when the game was over, first thing he said to me was, USA is going home. I said, yeah, and he just broke down. So here's the beef that I have. Cameras start going around, of course, post game, around the field, around the teams, the staff, the pitch. And I saw maybe 3 of our national team players that were reasonably close to that emotional. One was Chris Richards. I have zero beef with Chris Richards. None. Guy came into camp hurt, worked his butt off to be healthy, had a good World Cup, broke down after the game. Props, Chris Richards. Prop to you. I appreciate seeing that. Tim Ream was emotional. I think Tim's had some added weight to it because I don't think he's going to be playing in the next World Cup. He might not play for the national team anymore. So there's other stuff going on. There's exterior things for his emotions. And then the other one that they cut to was Tyler, but he had his head in his shirt. So I don't know. I don't know. We don't know what he was feeling. We don't know what he was going through. Pandover Christian, who's supposed to be the face of U.S. soccer right now, Christian Pulisic, is supposed to be the face of U.S. soccer. And he just had a blank expression on the bench. And I get that he was injured. I got injured and it ended my career. I understand that he was injured and on the bench. Show some emotion. Show something. It just looked like he didn't care. And that's the part that irritated me, was that the majority of that team last night after that game just looked like they didn't care. So going back again, my life has been surrounded by this game. And as a coach in high school, as a coach of a high school program, I remember 2 distinct instances from 2 separate seasons, consecutive seasons, conveniently. We we're at the tail end of our seasons, both of these instances. One was a game to get into the postseason, and one was a game in the postseason. And we lost both of those games. And I remember there were a few of our players that they weren't emotional kids. So they were upset, but they walked off the pitch. We had a team meeting. We talked. They processed how they needed to. And I remember after each of these games, there was one athlete in particular, different athletes each time, that experienced the emotions of the loss similar to how Anue did. Bawling, letting the emotions come out. And I had very similar conversations with both of them. And I'm not going to repeat them verbatim because I don't remember. But the overriding message that I remember I did give to both of them, because when I went up to them, they would tuck their face, or they would cover their face, and I would move their hands and say, no, everyone else here needs to see that. They need to see that emotion and that intensity and that dedication and desire from this game. And yesterday, the face of U.S. soccer looked like he didn't care at all. It was done. Okay. He gets to go home. He gets to go rest. That's what he said in his post-game interview. I get to go rest now. And Sidney Leroux, props to you too. Props to you for calling him out on that. I don't remember a day when I was playing that I wasn't borderline injured. Not a day. If you haven't seen what Sidney Leroux said, I don't know if it was a tweet or a comment, but it was a response to him saying, well, now I get to rest. And she said, well, he rested the whole World Cup. Kind of felt like that. So a lot of beef with yesterday and the progress that I don't feel like we have made. And what I feel like happened is, and this is kind of the point that I've been thinking of a lot, is all of our national team players are entitled. They feel entitled to their spot. They feel entitled to a win. They feel entitled to having just good football come out of them. And that's not how it works. And that's the culture in the country that we have created. Kids are entitled now. Kids feel entitled to this kind of stuff. So when they lose in the round of 16 on home soil to a Belgium team that we could have and really should have won, not starting De Bruyne, Lukaku, or Doku, take advantage of that. They don't care. There's nothing in it for them anymore because they're entitled to everything that they want and everything that they get. There's nothing in it. There's no heart. I've seen a lot of people, and I think it was even they made a post from U.S. Soccer that were like something along the lines of like, we believed, and it was like the national team inspired the fan base to believe. And I don't believe that for a second. I think it's 100% the opposite way. I think the hype from the national team fan base inspired the national team to an extent, and then they started to believe based on what the fan base was doing. Because leading up to the World Cup, they weren't giving us anything to believe in. And they sure as heck weren't believing in anything. So I think the fan base, props to the fan base, right? Props to all of you watching and supporting a team that hasn't changed in 9 years. That might be harsh. We qualified. We won our group. People also are trying to defend the group. Like, oh, statistically, we had one of the toughest. No. We beat a Paraguay team who were scrappy, played dirty. All right. I don't think they had any business being in the knockout round. We beat a Turkey team that just couldn't do anything. 60 plus shots in 2 games. Couldn't score. Sorry, we didn't even beat them. We lost to them. A Turkey team that shot 60 plus times in 2 games and couldn't score, and we lost. And people say that game doesn't matter. No, every single game matters in the World Cup. Every single game matters. And it matters for so much more than just the group or the knockout round. It matters to the fan base. It matters towards the next World Cup. It matters towards the kids that are watching these guys play, the youth players that are watching these guys play, that are watching these guys lose over and over and over again. And 9 years later, we still haven't figured it out. 9 years. Nothing's changing at the ground level. Nothing is changing with how things are done. I saw a post today from a coach that I love on X. And he said, just a reminder, the youth U.S. soccer system is running exactly as it is intended to run. And if I misquoted you, Chris, I apologize. That was the gist of it. And he was completely right. He's completely right. The system runs exactly how it is intended to. And that is not to improve our national team. It's not. Pochettino, I think, is a good coach. Guts me to say that because he was at Tottenham for a while. But he's a good coach. And I think he is the closest we've gotten to really trying to rebuild a culture. I think there were some questionable things that he did that I vocalized before, that I vocalized when the roster came out, not bringing in Diego, not bringing in Tanner, not bringing in Cameron Carter-Vickers. There are no-brainer things to me. And obviously, I'm not even coaching right now, right? I'm sure as heck not the national team coach. But those are things to me that, like, why do you not take Diego Luna? Why do you not take Tanner Tessman? Why do you not take Cameron Carter-Vickers? Oh, man. So, a lot of thoughts, a lot of frustrations, as I'm sure we all have. I think being knocked out in the round of 16 on home soil is borderline embarrassing. The way we did it, definitely embarrassing. I have a lot of feelings on the Balogun stuff. I don't think he should have played. Yeah, I don't want to get into that because I've been negative enough. I think as an American, I was excited that he was available. As a lover of the game, I was embarrassed for the integrity of the game and the rules and all of that. And I don't think Balogun should have played. Right, man. A lot of thoughts and feelings. A lot of thoughts and feelings. I don't know where the U.S. goes from here. Because again, in 9 years, what are we doing 9 years ago? I don't feel like it has changed in 9 years. I don't. This is 3 World Cup cycles now. 3. 2018, 2022, 2026. And it's just not You know why we made it as far as we did this year? Because there were more teams. That's exactly why. Because there were more teams. I truly believe old format, we get grouped. I think we get grouped if it was the old format because we'd have a tougher group, guaranteed. We would have had a big name in our group. We were the big name in our group. The US was the big name in our group. That's the only reason we didn't get grouped. That's the only reason we made it to the round of 16. Because there were more teams. And we played Bosnia in our first game out of the group. Nothing's changed. Nothing's changed. Oh man. Let's do something positive. I do think that Pochettino had some positive influence on the team. I shouldn't say had some, has. He's still currently the coach as far as I'm aware. Goodness knows how long that's going to last. And I think it's ridiculous that people are saying that he needs to be fired because we lost in the round of 16. And like he's been the first coach where I have felt like he's come in and the entitlement that is coming from the Christian Pulisic's and the Tyler Adams, he doesn't really care about that. He doesn't give a crap, right? He's gonna play the best players, but he's gonna make sure that the players in his system and his environment know that they're not like a lock, right? Though I say that now, and again, Balogun played yesterday, and I'm sure that Pepe was practicing his butt off as soon as Flo got his red card. I guarantee Pepe was practicing his butt off because he was assuming he was going to start against Belgium. And then all that mess happened. That was bad for both sides. Right? It wasn't fair to Belgium. It wasn't a good look for the US. It wasn't a good look for the US in general, much less the national team. And then today they announced the EU is looking into Infantino. Like, it's a mess. We need to wake up and play the game. That's what's going to build culture. Kids need to go play the game. Everything is so structured. Everything is so rigid, and like kids can't go to a park and just play anymore. When I was a kid, we would go to the park and we would play for hours. Right? And I grew up in a teeny tiny small town in southwestern Virginia, and none of us went pro. Very few of us played in college. Those of us that did play in college, when we were in college, we weren't great. But the love of the game was there, and the culture of soccer was building. But no, kids have to reserve a field, or they have to reserve a goal, or they go play on with goals that don't have any nets on them. Like, just, it's too structured. Kids got to learn how to play with freedom. I hate the debate. I hate the debate of, well, our best athletes should be playing soccer. If our best athletes would play soccer, we'd be so much better. No. That debate needs to die with this World Cup. That needs to die. Just be gone. Because if you look at the greatest player in the world, he's 5'0" weighs 100 pounds. He's not an athlete. He's a footballer. And there's a difference. He knows the ball. He knows the game. It doesn't matter how big or athletic you are. Some of the best kids that I played with at every level were small. One of the best goalkeepers I ever played with was the same height as Messi. under 6 feet, 5'8". He was unreal. It's not about having your best athletes play the game. That debate needs to be done. We need to let kids play. We need to let kids just go and play. No more of these 25 minutes of structured warm-ups and stretching and like give a kid a ball. Give him a couple technique drills to do, right? Give him a wall. If kids could have access to a ball and a wall from 5 years up, that's all they need. That's what we need. We need technical skill. We need IQ of the game. Let kids use parks. Let them just have access to parks with goals. And I know I talked about nets, but they don't even need nets. You don't have to have a net, but give them a goal. Let them have a goal. Let them have access to a goal. A park with a goal. A ball and a wall, right? And then for me, and this is one of the biggest things for me, everything is behind a paywall. Kids can't watch the game, right? I'm not a big MLS fan. I have warmed up to it a little bit because we have Apple TV. We make an effort to pay for Apple TV because we have shows on there that we want to watch. And MLS is on there. So I'll watch MLS occasionally. I'll watch an Inter Miami game here and there. I'll watch a Galaxy game because I like Marco Royce. I don't watch it a lot. Honestly, I watch USL a lot, but that's on ESPN. And I can't tell you how many kids can't watch the game. They can't go to a live game because tickets are horrendously expensive. We limit the access to this game to kids. Right? An individual training session for a kid is upwards of $200 for an hour for like a 7-year-old. And we think that these things are going to make the game better. What are we doing? What are we doing? Taylor Twellman. If you see this video, tag Taylor Twellman. I would love to talk with him. Love to talk with him because that's 9 years later and I'm asking the same question. What are we doing? What are we doing? I said I was going to do positives and that just turned into more negatives. You know, if there is a positive that I can think of, it's there are kids like a new way. There are kids all over the country who are that passionate about football in the US. There are kids who want the US national team to do well, to do very well, and kids who want to be part of that. So let's take off, let's get rid of the paywalls. I was looking up Rec League, where we're at now in Orem. Rec League is over $100 now. Rec League is over $100. It's crazy. It's crazy. It's all about money. It's all about money. That's why we had hydration breaks. It was all about money. Commercials, ads. People that are saying, well, we're going to move towards a 4-quarter soccer game in the future. No, there's zero chance. UEFA's already said they're not doing that in Champions League because it's dumb. It's all about money. I'm excited for the rest of the World Cup. I am. to be fair. I think Saturday is going to be one of the most exciting World Cup games I've watched in years and years. England Norway is going to be just blockbuster. Blockbuster. I'm so excited. And I can't decide who I want to win. I really can't because Norway has been my dark horse throughout. I mean, once they qualified, when they qualified, I was like, that's my dark horse team. I don't care who's in their group. I don't care who they play. That's my dark horse team. But, and especially now with the US out, England is like my second team that I root for. Right? They've got 4 Arsenal lads, maybe 5. We can get Morgan Rogers. Right? Harry Kane's been unreal. This last game, I think Tuchel made some questionable decisions as well. I'm not an international manager, so I'm not going to talk about that. But I think Saturday has potential to be one of the most exciting World Cup games in probably the last 3 or 4 World Cups. And I think this World Cup has had so much controversy, so much. I could spend hours talking about all that, but it has had so much excitement. I mean, today with the Argentina-Egypt game, I'm not going to get into the controversy because that'll make this episode way too long. But I will say the comeback and the energy and the emotion of the comeback, I knew I was losing his mind, like freaking out, screaming, hollering, because it was so exciting. Marley was screaming and hollering. Even Mo was yelling. And Mo watches the games and she likes soccer but doesn't get into it like that. It felt to me like she was watching a basketball game. Like she was getting into it. And that's what the game can do. That's what this game can do, is bring passion and joy and excitement into people's lives. And I think there's too many things. There are too many people that are trying to change too many things within the beautiful game. And it's becoming less and less beautiful and more rigid and more structured and more. There's less freedom in the game. You score a goal, you don't know if you scored because VAR is going to look at every little thing. The human aspect of the game is leaving. That's what it is for me. The human aspect of the game is leaving. So, okay, been too much negativity. I try to be a positive person, and man, I just needed to get all that out, I guess. So I hope that you guys have some thoughts on these. And if you've listened until the end and listened to all of this negativity, I appreciate you. Let me know. Let me know your thoughts on the national team and the World Cup. And I would like to talk with some people about VAR. I have a lot of thoughts on VAR that I can't get into in this one, but I would love to have a discussion on that. Really excited for next week. Really, actually, the next several weeks. I have some really exciting guests lined up, and some of my close friends and people that I look up to a lot within athletics and faith and family. And yeah, so again, today, not so much on the faith side or really even the family side, but I guess a little bit on the family side and youth, just thoughts. So anyways, it is what it is. I don't know who to root for now. I'm just rooting for a good rest of the World Cup. What are we doing? Taylor Twellman, I want to talk.